Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 11 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are using a really fun team built by Chiseok Lee. I've linked his Twitter down in the description below. You may recognize his name because he was actually the Players' Cup 1 runner-up. And he is definitely just been one of my favorite players to watch in Sword and Shield. I recently reached number 1 on the ladder with a very interesting team featuring Choice Scarf, Calyrex-I Rider, as well as some fun sets like Analytic Porygon 2, Hyper Beam Regieleki, and mixed Landorus-T featuring Earth Power as well as Rock Slide and Fly. So thanks to Chiseok for the team, and congratulations to him for reaching number 1 on the ladder. Before we get started with today's episode, I know that obviously Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Remix came out recently, so a bunch of people have been asking whether or not I'll do content around those, and the answer is yes. I'm going to do a playthrough sometime throughout this week on my Twitch at twitch.tv/CybertronVGC, and once I finish it, I will look to do some just fun exhibition VGC style battles. VGC is still going to continue to stay in Sword and Shield for the next year, but you can do, of course, VGC style battles in the Diamond and Pearl Remix, which is, just bring 6 Pokemon and choose 4. And I personally love Gen 4. I grew up playing so much, especially in Pokemon Diamond way back in the day. So, I definitely just have nostalgia for it, and I think it'd be fun to explore some kind of unofficial VGC format. So there will definitely be content in the Diamond and Pearl Remix coming up, so stay tuned. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to continue to still make these videos in Sword and Shield. I know people might be a little bit less interested between the remix coming out and between this format being kind of a repeat format and things not being like super interesting right now, but I think there's still a lot of fun teams to explore and fun strategies to explore. So for all of those that do continue to watch the Sword and Shield videos, I really do appreciate it. But if you want to take a break and you're not super interested right now, totally understandable as well. And so hopefully some of the Diamond and Pearl content that's coming up eventually will be of interest to you. So yeah, just wanted to quickly explain that. So let's quickly cover the team as always, and timestamps for the are in the description below if you just want to skip to the battles. So you're probably wondering, well, why in the world would you use Choice Scarf Calyrex Ice? And the first thing is that it's just really good for surprise factor, right? Especially in best of 1. If you're looking to climb quickly and win games quickly, a single item choice can often be the big difference maker. And no one expects Choice Scarf on Calyrex-I Rider, right? So with Choice Scarf, you're able to outspeed a lot of Pokemon, things like Landorus-T, Landorus-I, Urshifu, for example. I do know that even with Choice Scarf, Calyrex-I is not going to outspeed everything, right? Things like Regieleki and Zacian can still outspeed you. So don't just assume you're going to outspeed everything, but you do get the bump against a bunch of the Pokemon that are kind of pretty common in the format, right? And something, even outspeeding just like Landorus alone is really valuable because Landorus is a really tough Pokemon for Regieleki to deal with, and Regieleki is actually one of the primary Dynamax options with this team. So with Scarf Landorus, or with Scarf Calyrex, your goal is really to just surprise your opponent and get some big damage off. And one thing that's really cool about Scarf Calyrex as well is that this is actually a really viable lead option. So you can go like Calyrex Landorus, Calyrex Aleki, and Calyrex's ability is really nice, right? You can obviously get attack boost if you pick up knockouts, but you also cancel out berries specifically on the opposing end. So by canceling those berries out, it means that Pokemon will have more trouble like healing up with something like a Citrus Berry, for example. What that often means is that you can actually combo Calyrex and get a little bit of chip damage with one of your attacks, and then finish things off with Aleki or Landorus, or vice versa, for example. So your main max options with this team are going to be Aleki, Landorus, and Porygon. These are all pretty standard Pokemon, but as you'll note, they all have some special surprises up their sleeve. Aleki, of course, has that max strike with Hyper Beam. You also have Rising Voltage. We just featured a team with a really strong Dynamax Regieleki strat, so this continues to be really good. You set up Max Lightning, set up the Electric Terrain, and then Rising Voltage to clean up with things. Landorus-T here is really cool because, as I mentioned, it is a mixed set, so you are running Earth Power. Earth Power is really interesting because this really allows you to maximize your damage output from when you're intimidated, right? And so this is able to really catch opponents off guard while also being able to do a little bit more damage and ignore kind of intimidates or light screens, for example. And then you've got Analytic Porygon 2 with Hyper Beam, Thunderbolt, and Shadow Ball. So this is designed to just deal large amounts of damage. There's dual Helping Hand support with this team with Calyrex-I Rider and Indeedee. So the idea with this duo is that you're able to just Helping Hand and then potentially pick up big one-hit knockouts with Porygon 2. With Analytic, your goal is to just be slower than Pokemon and then just like one-shot them after they move. So yeah. To round out the team, you've just got Urshifu and Indeedee, which are pretty classic sets. So Like I mentioned, Chisako was able to get to number 1 on the ladder with this team, so congrats to him once again. I've linked his Twitter down in the description below. And thanks to you all as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. Before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by Into the AM. They're a super awesome apparel company. You've probably seen me wear a bunch of their clothes on the channel before, and they are currently doing a super mega big Black Friday sale where you can get 30 to 80% off a lot of the items on the site. So you can shop the deals. I've linked their website down in the description below. It's intotheam.com/cybervgc, and you can actually use code CyberVGC for 10% additional off to your next order. So there's only a couple of days left in the sale, as you can see. So go check it out. I've linked some of my favorite products from them down in the description below. I really, really love their line of graphic tees, but really everything I have from them, I have a hoodie as well as a bomber jacket I've really enjoyed. So yeah, go check them out. And if you're looking for some nice deals, this is really the best time to get into it right now. So thanks to them for continuing to support the channel. All right, getting into things here, and it is a classic Groudon Sun team. I think this might just be Leonardo's team. Okay, if that's the case, what do I want to go with? Max Porygon is actually really interesting, thanks to Analytic and Helping Hand Max Strike. Urshifu is valuable into the Umbreon. I don't think I want to bring a Lecky into a team with Groudon and Venu, so we probably drop that. Calyrex-I can be really good. If I were my opponent, what would I play towards? I'd bring Umbreon to counter Calyrex as much as possible, and then Groudon, and then probably Venu. But Charizard's still very good into my 4 as well, so I can't discount that. I don't know, Landorus-Urshifu? Like, Urshifu's really good thanks to close combat here. It's just that Porygon's another max option, but I actually don't think we get that much value out of it. So I actually think Landorus, Urshifu, Indeedee, and then Calyrex to sweep the endgame feels okay here. I mean, Landorus is just valuable because it can change the weather, and it has Lumberry. And also, we actually have Earth Power. We do have to know that there's a minus defense nature, right? So it makes us a little bit weaker into Groudon, but I actually don't think Groudon's very scary here, especially with Intimidate and Calyrex-I in the back. So one thing to note is that because we've got special Max Quake, Intimidate from Incineroar actually doesn't matter, which is actually really nice for us here. They're going to lead Incineroar Groudon. Okay, I'm very okay with this. I think like what we can do is probably just go for Max Quake onto Incineroar, although my fear here is that Incineroar switches out into... Incineroar switches out turn 1 into like Charizard. Be a good switch on their end. Because the thing is, if we knock out Incineroar, by the way, it also just paves the way for Calyrex-I completely in this game. I think I am down to just Max Quake Incin here and then switch Urshifu out into Calyrex-I on turn 1. Because then I just pressure with Glacial Lance. Maybe their Groudon goes for a Swords Dance. That would be okay. So far, like, I expected Incin, Groudon, Venu, and Umbreon, right? So let's see, first of all, whether or not they stay in with Incin. Because if so, that'd be fantastic. Okay, good. They stay in. So that's a good start. Maybe they go for Fake Out, but that would be fine. And even if they were to survive, that's okay. But if we eliminate Incin, you can't intimidate Calyrex-I anymore. That's pretty good. Giving Calyrex a special defense boost is also nice. I just suspect with this, then, that Groudon's clicking Swords Dance on turn 1. But Calyrex being able to outspeed Groudon is quite nice right now. Yep, so there's just Fake Out. That's fine. Did mean that I could have maybe gone for Max Quake onto the Groudon slot and then just, like, double up to KO it next turn. Okay, we don't knock out Incin, but that's actually okay with me. I'm cool with that. I'm gonna guess Groudon Swords Dances here, but let's see. Yeah. Okay. That's generally okay with me, I think. We're gonna get a Glacial Lance off with Calyrex. Incin will probably survive that. Maybe Incin switches out here, which would be pretty interesting. I am intimidated. They're at +1 now. It's Rock Slide and Precipice Blades on this Groudon, so you would think they max and max Quake or max Rockfall Calyrex. Got Indeedee and Urshifu in the back. If Vincent switches out, who would you go into? Venu and Umbreon were my guesses, right? Venu and Umbreon. Okay, I think I should have targeted Incin here because it can pretty easily Flare Blitz, but luckily for us, they do switch out, and it is into Umbreon. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I don't know if I love this play on my end this turn. Yeah, I don't think that was super smart. Mainly because if Incin stays in and they just Flare Blitz the Calyrex, that's obviously kind of ugly, so yeah. Maybe I think the execution there could have been a bit better. Either way, though, it is going to be Groudon maxing. So we're going to get the Glacial Lance off. It's obviously really good damage onto the Groudon. We're going to outspeed, and we're going to get the Quake off here as well. You would think here in this position they are going to just click Max Quake into Calyrex-I, right? Which would be okay. Now I get the free switch into Urshifu. Yeah, there's Max Quake. I assume this KOs, but I'm actually not 100% sure. Oh, wow, it doesn't. Nice. Scarf Calyrex-I is coming up huge for us here. That's amazing. Okay. This next turn is interesting, right? Because you'd obviously want to protect Groudon. That's amazing. That is such a big deal. Protect Groudon and then switch Umbreon out into Incin is one possibility, or you just stay in right now. I feel fine just going for a Max Quake here onto the Umbreon slot and going for a Glacial Lance here. Now, the thing is that Umbreon could switch into Incin and Groudon could just attack this turn. They don't know that we're a minus defense nature right now, though. Wow, Calyrex surviving there is so clutch, though. That's really impressive. I did not expect that. And this is the beauty of Scarf Calyrex, right? I can just Glacial Lance before my opponent attacks with Groudon. And one other cool thing we could have done in this game was like give Calyrex speed boost so it can outspeed things like Venusaur. Yeah, so there's the max guard. I guess the problem here is if we don't pick up the knockout onto Umbreon, which could be the case, so it actually may have been smarter to actually withdraw the Calyrex-I in this position. But I think we get the knockout here. Which makes this next turn very interesting, because at this point, I can switch out Calyrex, or I can switch out Landorus, right, to set up the Psychic Terrain, meaning that you cannot fake out into Calyrex. Kind of like that as an option. Okay. The only downside is I haven't gotten any attack boosts off with this Calyrex, but that's totally okay. You could also bring out Venusaur if you're my opponent right now, so that's another thing to consider. But I would think Instinct comes out right now, and then you pressure with Fake Out. So then the play I lean towards is withdrawing Landorus out into Indeedee, set up Psychic Terrain. The only question then is after Intimidate, does a Glacial Lance knock out Groudon from the range? Because the other thing that's good for us right now is that we're disabling the Citrus Berry on Groudon, right? And I don't want that berry to come back up. You also could just bring in something like Venusaur, but that would definitely be a gamble, I think. Would it be, actually? Maybe not. Although, interestingly enough, like, their sun is slowly expiring as well, right? So let's say if, like, Venu comes in right now, I could always just withdraw Calyrex out into... Yeah, they bring out Incin. I was gonna say, I could just withdraw Calyrex out into the Indeedee. I just am not confident on -1 Glacial Lance knocking out Groudon from this range. If I were, then this would be a very easy play to make. It also does feel a little bit bad to give up 3 increased stages of special defense. Because right now it means Landorus hard wins against whatever the remaining Pokemon my opponent has in the back, right? You know what I could always do, though, is protect Landorus here. I just think that Landorus is like a hard win condition right now against the remaining Pokemon my opponent has in the back. So I'm thinking, hey, well, we can just protect this. And switch out into Indeedee. Actually, because we have Urshifu in the back, I don't even think we need to switch out right now. I think we can just give up Calyrex comfortably. Like, they're probably going to fake out into Calyrex here, but that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Because the thing is, now it gives me a free switch in. Like, the only downside is, yes, it does allow them to get their Citrus Berry up, but their Dynamax ends after this turn. I've got Earth Power, and I've got this Urshifu waiting in the back. Yeah, they go for Rockfall. The only awkward thing here is that they do set up the Sandstorm, but that's okay. Their Sun was going to expire anyway, so the reason it's awkward is just because I've got this Urshifu in the back, and so it does break my Sash, but that's fine. Cool. So now I can just bring Urshifu in, right? You can't protect in front of my Wicked Blow onto Groudon, so that's a guaranteed attack off. And if I were my opponent, I'd probably be withdrawing Groudon out right now, maybe to reset the weather for whatever's in the back. But like Scarf Calyrex did exactly what I needed to in this game, so I'm plenty happy about its performance. I mean, Instant's not scary right now, right? I think I'm down to just Earth Power the Groudon and Wicked Blow it. If you bring in Venusaur, that's a knockout. If you bring in Gieleki, that's a knockout. If you stay in with Groudon and don't protect, that's a knockout. Oh, they actually just forfeit. Okay. Yeah, I think it was going to be pretty tough for them to win that game afterwards, but maybe they still could have had a turn or two. If Wicked Blow was a guaranteed knockout on a Groudon from that position, though, I think, yeah, the game was done for. But they just didn't have great late game damage, right? Like, so much of that team relied on enabling Groudon, but even though it got the Sword Stance up, it wasn't actually that scary. But Calyrex-I was so nice for us in this one. Was able to survive the +1 Max Quake, was able to get a ton of damage off with Glacial Lance, and just make Groudon a lot less scary right from the beginning. And then this Calyrex is also nice because it does threaten like Venusaur as well, right? And so you could see the value of having special Max Quake here on this mixed Landorus because it ignored the Intimidates from Incineroar and actually allowed us to pick up a lot of damage onto the Incin as well as onto the Umbreon. Being able to actually knock out Umbreon before it can even do anything, I think was super nice. So the one play I don't love in this game that I made was the turn that I was expecting Incin to switch out. Like if it just stayed in there and clicked Flare Blitz on a Calyrex, that would be really bad for us. So I would have preferred to have covered for that option instead. But in the end, we got fortunate. My opponent didn't make the switch, which was initially what I was expecting, but still like don't think I made the safest play that turn. But either way, it worked out, and Scarf Calyrex-I outspeeding Groudon was really nice. So let's just keep it going. Alright, next match here, and it is Lapras Zacian. I think this was one of the teams we used that like won one of the Players' Cup qualifier online tournaments. If I remember correctly, that had offensive Porygon too. Might have even been Tri or Quad Attack Porygon too. Calyrex is pretty interesting here with Scarf. Well, outspeed, you know, the Landorus and the Urshifu, but not the Gieleki or the Zacian. So that's one thing to watch out for. It's going to be a Max Gieleki game, honestly. Mainly because I like how it threatens Lapras. So, for example, with this, like I can lead Gieleki plus Indeedee. So I've got redirection support with this. Go with Calyrex in the back, and then Urshifu as the fourth. It does feel very odd to not bring Landorus into this one, given its matchup into Gieleki, Zacian. But the thing about Urshifu is that it has Focus Sash, and I think a single Focus Sash in this matchup is a really nice deal for us. So, let's see. If I'm my opponent, I'm definitely going with the Zacian on their end. What's interesting is who you would want to Dynamax, because I think Lapras is an interesting max option. I guess the scary thing about us leading Gieleki is even if they lead Lapras, they could just pivot it out into Landorus on turn 1. So that's one thing to watch out for. It's going to be Zacian Porygon too. Okay. Now that is Shiny Zacian, so even if this is like similar to the team that I'm talking about, it is not the exact same, and I have to keep that in mind. If I'm my opponent turn 1, let's say they are offensive Porygon too, what would you do? You could, like, here's what I want to do. I want to Dynamax and just go for Max Lightning onto Zacian and follow me with Indeedee. Decently safe other than them switching in Landorus on turn 1 for the Zacian slot. I guess Porygon could threaten with Trick Room, but I'm not actually that worried about that right now. I don't know. I think it's likely my opponent goes Protect on Zacian and then Max Strike with Porygon on turn 1. Could see that being the case. So, I'm okay to go for Max Lightning and follow me turn 1, I think. I don't love it, but I do think Porygon Dynamaxing here makes decent sense to me. They stay in with Zacian, so that's a good start regardless. What's tough about this game is not knowing whether or not there's a Landorus in the back. If we knew there's a Landorus in the back, then I obviously have... Or, I should say, if we knew they didn't have a Landorus in the back, then it's a lot safer to click Max Lightning. But Zacian staying in is already a good start, I would say. And if we could somehow one-shot this, that would just be beautiful. Wow, okay. They don't max Porygon, and Zacian does not switch out. Okay. Honestly, that's not a terrible ally switch to run into. It's just a shame because I almost knocked out Porygon, but yeah, it's not terrible. I'll take it. Allows me to get terrain up, which is really nice. I'm just gonna Behemoth Blade. You know, this would be a position where if they picked up a knockout, actually, it wouldn't be too bad. But I think our Indeedee will survive here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's honestly fine. I'm down to... what's interesting here is they go for another ally switch. I don't know, it's pretty safe to max Lightning the Zacian slot and just follow me here, in my opinion. Yeah, that's fine. I do think they probably click ally switch again, because, like, what better attack do you have to go for? So, I guess it was technically safer to max Lightning Porygon to guarantee a knockout onto that or the Zacian. Because here you could, like, protect Zacian and Porygon could recover or even Trick Room. If they have those. So this play was, like, a little bit risky, and without full knowledge of my opponent's team... Okay, they actually switch. Is that Landorus coming in? That's a great play. That's a great play. Okay. Wonder if they make it the ally switch play again. Ideally, Porygon actually knocks out Indeedee, so I get a free switch and a Scarf Calyrex-I right now. Okay. It is Hyper Beam. No, that's the worst dodge possible. Oh, wow. That is unfortunate. Wow. Because if they get that, then I just get a free switch into Calyrex Ice, and I can just max strike the Landorus and Glacial Lance, and we probably just win from there. So that's such a bad miss. If there's any one time we wanted an attack to hit, it was then. But you know what? It's still fine. I can still max strike. I honestly want to target the Landorus slot here and follow me. Because I could see Porygon going for an ally switch. Yeah. And if it doesn't go for an ally switch, that's fine. Oh, interesting. They don't even Dynamax Landorus. That's interesting. They don't ally switch, but if you're Assault Vest, you should survive this. Yeah. Oh, man. That would have been such a sick free switch in. I'm going to guess Landorus is EQing here. It's a great Earthquake. But we do survive. Okay, you know what? This is still not bad. Because the thing is, now, your Dynamax option is very awkward. Right? Because now I can just bring in Scarf Calyrex Ice. And I can just Rising Voltage into the Zacian. That's probably coming in. That should pick up a one-hit KO. And then just Glacial Lance. Yeah, I don't really think you have a way around this. And we got a speed drop onto Landorus. So I think even if your Choice Scarf will outspeed you now with Calyrex. So my opponent's play would be to protect Zacian and then switch Landorus out. I don't want to make that read, though, I don't think. How many turns of Electric Terrain do we have left? 2, right? Yeah, which is good. Who do you even Dynamax at this point? Lapras? I think I will just go for Rising Voltage here in Glacial Lance. Oh, beautiful. They don't protect either. So this should get the double knockout. Nice. So there's Zacian KO'd. We should outspeed here. Get the knockout onto Landorus. And now it's like whatever their last Pokemon is. I don't think you can win a 3v1 in this position. So this was really scary because of the ally switch and because they made a great switch on turn 2. But they were in a position... like, by choosing to click Earthquake rather than maxing the Landorus there, it was awkward, right? Because they not only knocked out their own Porygon, but as soon as you don't Dynamax with Landorus that specific turn, it is a lot harder to Dynamax for the remainder of the game. The last one is Regieleki. That is the Pokemon that'll probably give them the best shot in this position. But if you Dynamax, you can only pick up one knockout. I'm not max speed here, but what I can do is just click Electro Web here. Actually, it's probably better to Rising Voltage, actually, just for guaranteed damage, because then Urshifu, Wicked Blow from into Sucker Punch will get the KO. So, yeah, like, I guess your best bet is to not max and click Electro Web. By maxing, I actually think this guarantees us the win, whereas if you didn't Dynamax, maybe Electro Web crit double KO can give you a chance of winning. But the issue with Dynamaxing this late in the game is that you are only down to one Pokemon at this point, so you can only, at best, knock out one Pokemon per turn, right? And with Focus Sash on Urshifu, that essentially gives us an extra life. So it's like, Regieleki needs to pick up 4 knockouts somehow right now, right? So they're going to Lightning into Calyrex, but that's totally fine. You're going to pick up a 1-hit KO there. But Rising Voltage in itself will do a ton of damage, and now Wicked Blow, this next turn, will just get the guaranteed knockout onto Regieleki. I said guaranteed. Oh, that's pretty guaranteed. Jeez, that's strong. But you can see what my opponent was going for, though, right? Knock out Calyrex, hope that Regieleki faints from the Life Orb, and then hope to win the 1v1. Now, Urshifu had Sucker Punch here, so we're always good. But, yeah, I think it was correct to target Calyrex there. Now I can just Rising Voltage and Wicked Blow. Might as well just click Wicked Blow. No reason to really bother clicking Sucker Punch here. We know, once again, Regieleki can't win in this 2v1 scenario. So, yeah. This looked really scary, but Scarf Calyrex-I once again being amazing. Being able to outspeed that Landorus, I think, was the main thing. And yeah, I think my opponent probably just, one, maybe didn't expect to get one shot by Rising Voltage. And then two, probably wasn't expecting the Landorus to get outsped by Calyrex-I. So they were probably thinking, hey, well, even if you knock out my Zacian, well, my Landorus can just go for a KO onto your Regieleki. Even then, I think it would still be kind of tough, but Scarf just made it so they couldn't even get an attack off with it. So yeah, the beauty of the Surprise Choice Scarf strikes again, so let's look for another one. Alright, third game of the day, and it's another Calyrex-I team with Entei, Regieleki, Gothitelle. Goth is really scary here. This might be a decent Porygon 2 game. I have to be very careful here because they can trap things in. I mean, Landorus isn't bad, but I'm nervous about, like, Gothitelle plus Scarf Urshifu. We can just hope a Hand Surging strikes. I do like Porygon a lot here, I think, especially because of the Analytic and Max Phantasm. So I'm thinking, like, Regieleki, Porygon, or sorry, Indeedee, Porygon, Urshifu, and Calyrex. This would be fun, because it would mean another Dynamax Mon. I think our Regieleki's okay, but, like, I don't want to play the Regieleki mirror match here, especially because we're not max speed, so, you know, they can just outspeed us and Electro Web us. I don't know, Regieleki's not bad, but it's mainly not knowing where the Focus Sash is, and we're not as bulky as something like Porygon 2 as my max option. And then Landorus theoretically looks really good here, but it makes me nervous that they have Gothitelle to trap things in. Our Landorus isn't very good into Gothitelle, especially without something like U-Turn. And then they also have Calyrex-I, which can obviously just knock out Landorus should we get trapped in. So I think one of the main things when playing against Gothitelle is constantly asking yourself, okay, like, what's the worst scenario lead, including Gothitelle, that traps us in, right? They're going to go with Incineroar plus the Gothitelle. Okay, this works okay for me. I mean, I'm generally okay with this because, one, you can't click Fake Out with the Incineroar. Two, interestingly enough, I can go for, like, Helping Hand plus Max Phantasm immediately onto the Gothitelle slot. I don't know if I want Porygon to eat up any drops right now, though. Also, Hypnosis from Gothitelle here is actually really scary. I actually am really nervous about Hypnosis, because let's say they have it and they just go for it and it hits Porygon, it's really bad. And if I had it, truthfully, I would just go for it on turn 1. It's not even a bad play for them to make. But I'm trapped in right now, and that's part of the problem, right? I think works, though, is Max Strike Gothitelle and then follow me. Because even if you have Hypnosis here, I redirect any attention away from Indeedee, and I drop Gothitelle's speed, so with the speed drop, I should outspeed you the next turn, and then I can just Max Phantasm you for a KO. Maybe Max Strike in itself just gets the knockout here. But here, it's like, even if you Hypnosis and you hit the Indeedee, well, then I don't have to worry as much about it turn 2. Because, like, this is a pretty passive lead from their end, right? I think they led it to try to shut something like Calyrex-I down early. It's just so tempting to try to KO Instinct, because that obviously is a huge nuisance to Calyrex-I in the back, but, yeah. Okay, they go for Taunt. I'll take that. I don't mind that too much. And then Darkest Lariat. Okay, that's not terrible to see. Ideally, we just knock out the Gothitelle here, but it's probably not going to be the case. How much do we do? Oh, that's such good damage, but not enough, unfortunately. That is fine, though. I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay. I think here... I mean, I don't mind going for a Max Strike. Oh, actually, I guess Indeedee can just Expanding Force right now, right? And finish off Gothitelle. Phantasm actually would probably guarantee us a KO through Protect, though, so I'm down to go for that. And then I obviously have to click Expanding Force right now. I guess the only awkward thing about this is now, by going for Phantasm rather than Strike, I don't do as much damage into Incineroar, but that's okay. I don't think Strike was going to deal... Well, it does do a decent amount, actually. I shouldn't say it doesn't deal that much, but I'm down to get a defense drop onto this. What's interesting is with Instant, like, do you target the Indeedee slot just to get the knockout onto it? Nope, they go for Parting Shot on a Porygon, which I think is a good play on their end. Okay, so I could have gotten a little bit more free damage on a Incineroar, but that's honestly okay. The only awkward thing is with this team, you really want to get 2 knockouts in your 3 turns of Dynamax. I've only gotten 1, and I think getting a second one is going to be rather tough. Okay, they bring out Calyrex-I. Now, with Calyrex-I, I can just go for another Phantasm, which then gives it a defense drop, meaning then I can just bring in Urshifu and then Wicked Blow, which is really, really sweet right now. First question I have is, how fast are you? Second question I have is, are you weakness policy? It's probably likely to be the case. And then it's Urshifu coming in, but it's Water Urshifu. Okay. Still taunted. Got Scarf Calyrex in the back, as well as Urshifu. What do I want to do here? I want to launch him Phantasm, I think. Okay, Phantasm into Calyrex, and then just Expanding Force here. The only risk is, like, by Phantasming, I'm accepting activating a potential weakness policy, but in this spot, I think it's okay, because not only is it super effective damage, it's also a defense drop. And it's a defense drop on their Maxmon, right? You could have made an argument for Strike here as well, though, into Urshifu, so then I guarantee outspeed with my Urshifu. Oh, that's interesting. They U-turn. Okay. U-turn almost guarantees choice. And I'm thinking it's Scarf rather than Banded. Okay, I'll take that. You missed out on an opportunity. Well, I guess the awkward thing is now I might be activating weakness policy, but the thing is, Calyrex might be outspeeding us anyway, right? So, like, best case is they outspeed us, they knock out Indeedee, weakness policy gets activated, and I just get a free switch in right now. So let's see. Okay, Expanding Force gets wasted, that's fine. Don't think I was going to switch Indeedee out in this position, so I'll take it. We are faster than Calyrex-I. Okay, well, that's good to know. That looks like a Solvest to me. But maybe I'm wrong because we're at -1. I think that's AV, personally. Yep, I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, and they go for Steel Spike. Interesting. That will give him a defense boost. Okay, and this actually get the knockout, which is a little bit unfortunate for us. That does actually make the game a lot harder, because it gives them an attack boost as well. AV Calyrex, not something I'd fully considered. This is looking a little hard now. It's mainly because they were able to regain that defense drop, and I did so little damage with Phantasm. Like, Policy there's totally okay. AV is actually a much worse item to run into. Yeah, actually, that makes this game really hard. Because I don't think Wicked Blow and Shadow Ball's KOing. They could just Hailstorm Urshifu now. Yeah, it's looking kind of tough. I'm bringing out Calyrex first here because I don't think I could just bring Urshifu out immediately. I just don't really see a good path to victory at this point. Maybe in the beginning of the game I should have just accepted to play around the Hypnosis. I was so scared of it, but I don't know if I actually needed to be. If I'm my opponent, I'm going for Max Steel Spike onto Calyrex right now. Calyrex has a free high horsepower here. I can reset my special attack drop on this. I really don't want Urshifu to take any damage, though. Yeah, I'm not really sure here. I don't really know what I can do. I mean, I've got Scarf High Horsepower, which is cool, but I don't think that KOs here, right? That was so close. I was going to say if they have a berry, but actually it's not relevant here. Okay, they do Parting Shot into Calyrex. This actually means a free Thunderbolt into Urshifu, which is kind of neat, but I don't think it's enough to KO. And the scary thing here is we know they're Scarfed on their Urshifu as well. Yeah, AV plus them going for Steel Spike, getting a knockout changed everything here. But that's really cool to see. Like, AV, I think, is a very, very good item on Calyrex Ice Rider. And, like, most people expect Policy like I did here. But, you know, AV Glacier was one of the most common sets a few formats back. We do at least get a nice Thunderbolt here, so I'll take that. Okay. It's not bad damage, but it's not enough, right? Like, I assume Steel Spike gets the knockout here. Let's see. Yeah. I think Calyrex just snowballs too much. If Dynamax ended here, I actually think we would win the game, but it doesn't. They have one more turn. What's our bet now? Got Urshifu in the back. They're going to probably lock themselves into Scarf Surging Strikes. I guess you could Scarf Close Combat, but that'd be kind of surprising in my opinion. I mean, the best bet is really to just double up on Calyrex and hope to get a knockout onto it, which is probably not happening. Shadow Ball does 80 with weakness 160. Hyper Beam is substantially stronger here. So, yeah, our best bet is to just Hyper Beam here, Wicked Blow. And then hope to KO Calyrex. Actually, even if we get this, do I win because I'm Hyper Beaming? I should probably just Shadow Ball here, because I'm not going to ever win the game if I don't get an attack next turn with Porygon, right? Yeah. There's still a chance we can win here, though, but I don't think we're... Oh, they are Choice Banded with Urshifu. They're not Scarfed. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, for that reason, then you can just Close Combat Porygon. Okay. So with U-Turn, like normally, like I said, it's one of the true choice items, and I was thinking it was Scarf here. Yeah, they did Hailstorm. I was going to say, we also then could have won if I actually knocked out their Urshifu first, and then they didn't click Hailstorm here. But the problem was, by Hailstorming, you set up the Hail, which means that even with Focus Sash, we just end up fainting anyway. So, yeah. This was them having a Salt Vest Calyrex-I, which changes a lot because I can't deal much damage into it with most of my max options. So what I needed to do in order to win this game was stall out my opponent's Dynamax. Turn 1 of this game was a really big deal, because if I had actually just gone for Helping Hand plus Max Phantasm, we probably would have just knocked out Gothitelle immediately. But if I go for a Helping Hand Phantasm and Gothitelle does have Hypnosis and they hit a blind Hypnosis on a Porygon 2 on turn 1, as I Dynamax it, I think I probably just lose the game immediately from that spot. So that's not something I wanted to risk. But imagine if we do just get the free knockout onto Gothitelle there, then the subsequent turn I could potentially just switch out the Indeedee, right? They would bring out one of Urshifu or the Calyrex-I, but with Calyrex-I, then I can probably just Phantasm around it. I think what's tricky here was Calyrex-I being able to give itself multiple boosts while also, like defensive boosts while also getting offensive boosts, right? So like Max Steel Spike was so valuable for my opponent in that game because they were able to not only boost their defense, but they put themselves in a very nice spot where they could just pick up knockout after knockout after knockout with Calyrex-I Rider. So I think they played really, really well towards their Dynamax, and they just snowballed incredibly well with Calyrex. So then, the question is, okay, well, do we bring all the right Pokemon? And truthfully, this is just not the easiest matchup. We don't have a way to really stop the Calyrex-I in terms of damage output, right? No Intimidators other than Landorus-T. And I'm really not sure I want to bring Landorus-T or Regieleki into this matchup since both of those are so weak into Calyrex, even if they're not Assault Vest. But you add the AV on top, and we're basically doing no damage to it. So our only way to realistically win this game is we need to stall their Calyrex Ice Rider Dynamax and then win the game with a Wicked Blow from the Urshifu. I was thinking, like, the game plan here was say, okay, well, if your weakness policy, Max Phantasm actually does a decent amount, and more importantly, it gets a defense drop on a Calyrex, right? That one turn where I went for Phantasm and then they went for Steel Spike was everything. Because, one, unfortunately for us, Porygon was also faster than their Calyrex, right? If Porygon's slower and they are not Assault Vest, they're weakness policy instead, and I've got Urshifu in the back, well, then the tide's completely turned, right? Because it's like Phantasm does significantly more damage, and you get the analytic boost. You get the defense drop. They still knock out the Indeedee with the Wicked Blow, but then maybe, with the Max Steel Spike, but then maybe Urshifu can come out and cannot Wicked Blow to just KO the Calyrex. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking if they're not AV and we get analytic Max Phantasm, it's obviously substantially more damage in a Calyrex. So, yeah, that was one part of the issue. And then, yeah, this is an example of one Pokemon just, like, matching up really, really well into our entire team, because even with the Pokemon that we didn't bring, they wouldn't have offered much. And the Pokemon that we did bring, Indeedee, Porygon, like, with Indeedee, I needed to, conserve it better. I just took way too much damage from Incineroar. And that's okay, right? Like, I think they had a great lead, and they recognized, hey, I need damage onto Indeedee rather than go for a turn 1 parting shot immediately. With the Incineroar, they just got free damage onto Indeedee and put it in KO range from Calyrex Ice Rider. So, yeah, I think that was really smart damage management from their end. And ultimately, if I were to replay this, I think, yeah, I didn't fully realize that the win condition was try to stall out my opponent's Dynamax, specifically with Calyrex Ice Rider, and then win with Urshifu. So I could have done a better job playing towards that. I guess Max Urshifu on our end is also an interesting option, but I'm not sure that is the correct option. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.